Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
It's Wednesday night, and I know you will be watching Dynamite in a couple hours, but thank you for tuning in now for Working Fans Presents Episode 8, Horror Business Episode 8, where we will be talking Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. This came out in 1989, also rated R. It's an hour and 29 minutes, directed by Stephen Hopkins. It had an estimated $6 million budget, and its opening weekend in U.S. and Canada was $8,115,176, opening on August 13th, 1989. It had a gross both in U.S. and Canada and worldwide of $22,168,359. Now, in this movie, Alice, having survived the previous installment of the Nightmare series, finds the deadly dreams of Freddy Krueger starting once again. Now, remember, Alice is the friend that got the ability to pull people into her dreams from her friend Kristen in the previous movie. This time, the taunting murderer is striking through the sleeping mind of Alice's unborn child. His intention is to be born again into the real world. The only one who can stop Freddy is his dead mother, but can Alice free her spirit in time to save her own son? That is a lot right there. Like, I've been talking about how I've kind of been getting tired on the series because I watched all of them in a row. And I think it's a good plot, but there's like levels to it, and it's a little convoluted. It's getting a little more finding reasons to bring Freddy into the real world. And we'll get into what I thought about the movie later. Now, major actors, Robert Englund, of course, returning as Freddy Krueger. You have Lisa Wilcox as Alice, Kelly Jo Minter as Yvonne, Danny Hassel as Dan, Erica Anderson as Greta, Nicholas Melee, Dennis Johnson, Joe Seeley plays Mark, Valerie Armstrong is Mrs. Jordan, Bird Benning is Mr. Jordan, Clarence Felder is Mr. Gray, Gurney Orderly is Michael Ashton, and we're getting deep into the cast there. Now, Beatrice Bopel is Amanda Krueger, and, you know, they're starting to work Freddy's daughter into the mix. This might be the first one where she shows up. Some of these details are a little jumbled because, like I said, I didn't grow up on the series, and I wanted to start this year's edition of Horror Business with the series and then kind of get into horror movies here and there, and then maybe do originals and remakes. Never having seen this series, I started with this. This had an IMDb rating of 5 out of 10, and I thought this movie just felt unnecessary in the series. Very forgettable besides the story thread with Krueger's mother, because that's another, you know, kind of layer to it. You find out she was this nun that was raped by like 1,000 maniacs, and that is a awful like movie thread to go on, but That's how they got that's where they went with that storyline. Now, I feel they should have maybe stopped this series like a movie ago, because it's starting to just really feel too much at this point. It's the 5th one in the series. I like how every movie poster looks. I like the 80s feel of it. But like with this one, you're just trying to find another way to get Freddy into the world, and I wasn't terribly crazy about this. Now, I'm always trying to get in our reads because we are brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1 and Lance by Chance, written by Vinnie Berry, available at WrestleVille.com. All the following books can be gotten on Amazon, being Super Vows and Pas de Deux, written by friend of the show, Kevin Kelton, 2 great novels, as well as I'll Be Here All Week and All That's Left, written by Ward Anderson, as well as his stand-up special. Former guest of the show, Brian R. Solomon, wrote Blood and Fire, the unbelievable real-life story of wrestling's original Sheik. Pat Oates wrote How Not to Suck at Comedy. And John Arezzi with Greg Oliver wrote Matt Memories. We're brought to you by the great people over at Connecticut People Records and our wrestling commentary home of New Heights Wrestling. And getting back to A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, we're going to bring you some fun facts. This is the second and last time the character of Amanda Kruger, sister Mary Helena, appears in the film series. Her first appearance was in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. I forgot Amanda Kruger was Freddy's mom and not his daughter as depicted in the next movie. Stephen King and comic book writer Frank Miller were offered the job of writing and directing this movie, but didn't end up taking it. I think a Stephen King take on Freddy Krueger would be very interesting. And from what we've seen of later Frank Miller movies, this could have been a very interesting direction to go with it. Now, executive producer Sarah Reicher's original pitch to New Line Cinema for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors was for Freddy to have a baby. Reicher states, I went in, one of the executives was pregnant at the time, and I said, picture Freddy clawing his way out of the womb. No one liked my idea. So then I got a call for Nightmare 5, and when they came to me, they said, remember when you wanted Freddy to have a baby? Well, we like that idea now. What if Alice was the mom? This is the final Nightmare on Elm Street film until Freddy vs. Jason to feature the Jump Rope Kids singing Freddy's rhyme. That has been a staple of the series. Almost when you know you're in the dream world, when you see the girls skipping rope and singing the rhyme. Unlike the previous films, with the exception of the first, this film's main titles do not display the digit 5, just A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child. When you get deep enough into the series, I'm sure that you want to maybe take the number away so it doesn't feel like you're in the 5th movie in the series. Because when you see that number, you could get mentally tired of it. If you just see a different Nightmare on Elm Street, you could say, what is this? So not the worst idea. Vince McMahon did it for a while with WrestleManias. The laughter heard at the end, right before the credits roll, is a clip of Vincent Price laughing at the end of Michael Jackson's song Thriller. Price's laughter is sampled at the beginning of Kool Moe Dee's song Let's Go, which is played during the film's end credits. And that song, Let's Go by Kool Moe Dee, was actually a diss track to LL Cool J. The two rappers were feuding at the time the film was being made. So it's interesting to see this rap diss song get included in the Freddy series. In France, the movie was named Freddy 5, The Nightmare Child. And in Germany, the movie was named A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Trauma. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend this, and little would neither Thor here. If you want to take in the whole series and get the whole story as it goes, sure, go check it out. But I wouldn't say this film is necessary. Now, tomorrow we're going to be returning with Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. And after that, we have 3 more movies before being done with Freddy. And then starting Monday next week, we'll have Twilight Zone, the movie. Big Twilight Zone fan of the. But I mean, like I said yesterday, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is probably the film in this series I'm most excited about. So join us tomorrow for Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and we will continue on with the series.